Hello, good sign people. Welcome to your Gemini super new moon reading. It's a super new moon. It's when the moon is close to the earth, and it's easy to see a super new moon when it's a full moon. Did I say super new moon? A super moon when it's a full moon. We can see that full moon bright light on the horizon at night because it's so close. But a new moon, a new super moon, is dark. It blankets the sky. It's equally powerful. But in the reverse, a super full moon is a purifying moon. It is a purification process of emotions and expressions that need to come out. With a new supermoon, finally got it right there, it's a pulling in. It is a receiver. It's the ultimate receiver of information. And so as we have these lunar energies and solar within us, it's kind of super expressed, shall we say, during the new moon. And we are all equipped with very powerful antennae. And this antennae for you is operating from fourth house energies. And so relating to mama drama trauma and the dark night of the soul, for those of us here listening to Great Mother speaking to her children most estranged and alienated from her energies, this for you is about coming out of a period of fear. In your past position recently, you have really decided to face the challenge of your MDT triggers and issues of codependency in your domestic relationships. And you, as a result, are regrounding yourself in self-love. You are beginning to reground yourself, at the very least, in an awareness that there is a greater part of yourself that is able and willing to love and nurture you. You don't have to, in other words, rely on others to fulfill that to the degree that you have in the past. And we know that because it is in the past position, but also because fourth house energies with mama drama trauma have to deal with these triggers of codependency. Whenever we are feeling that we are not getting the love and attention that we need, we have a very visceral response to individuals and situations. And so that is letting us know that there's some awareness that has come up for you about this. And there's some fears that you've been facing as a result of these awarenesses emerging in your life at this time. You're processing presently, in other words. You're processing what all of this prior to now has been unconscious reaction to others and situations. So with the Gemini new moon, you're deciding to face the challenge of these triggers, perhaps by actually articulating what your needs are. Maybe in the past you've allowed those unspoken needs and desires to go unmet, and you're beginning to actually articulate them or processing internally how you may do so in the future. Those unspoken beliefs, attitudes, needs, and desires are kind of under the surface, that energetic pull of the sea that drives the ebb and flow that we see on the surface. So on the surface, you have the Pisces energy, that emotional, earth-centered astrology. And beneath that is the soul sidereal, Aquarian nature that is driving your reactions, that is driving your soul intentions, which is to process all of this at this time. So what may not be seen in your shadow position is that there's a feeling of neglect, abandonment, perhaps even abuse that you don't understand. So as you come out of this fear, what is coming up as a result of you processing it are these feelings that have been under the surface. You don't understand why. At present, there are issues with the birth mother. You don't understand why she's not listening, why perhaps she's ignoring you. Some of you who are particularly sensitive, which many people with MDT are, you do understand. You understand that she's had her own MDT, that she has her own issues with her mother that she hasn't healed. And so you've taken that on. You get it. But your needs are still not getting fulfilled. So it's ungrounding. And you don't understand. You're processing all of this. Now, it's interesting that you're still deciding to face the challenge of these triggers, though. So that says that something about this codependency that you have with your mother or someone who's like your mother. Now remember, our birth mother or our mother figures, our adopted surrogate mothers, teach us how to do relationship. So if it's not directly with her, it's a soulmate in terms of a spouse or a mate situation, or even a work partnership in which that pattern of abuse that was instilled or conditioned in childhood that you know was an issue with your mother. For example, it may be you never do anything right. You never do anything right. You never understand. You're never good. That thought is what propels the attraction of others with that thought to you to occur. And so maybe that's why you're feeling abandoned and rejected, and you're processing that. You're starting to kind of recognize the process that is occurring as a result of that thought. But you fully expect to bring these unspoken beliefs, to bring these unspoken desires for your love and attention fulfillment to the surface. You fully intend to honor your visual response to feeling abandoned and ignored. You're addressing this, in other words. You fully expect to be equipped to do so, and you're ready to release this fear. Something has demonstrated or proven to you, your own intuitive processes, your own work that you've been doing has shown you in some way, something has manifested in your life that has shown you that you are protected in this process, and it's something that you need to do to heal yourself. You're dancing with the self-doubt, though, that you could be capable of doing this, that you could be capable of resolving these issues that are related to, in many cases, of wanting to cure the MDT. You know, how can I cure this? You know, how can I control this? How can I stop this cycle from occurring? And there's some overwhelm with that because you're thinking that's where this is going, but no, it's not. If you've been in Al-Anon or AA or any of the Narconon programs, you learn about the 3 C's. We didn't cause, we can't control, and we certainly cannot cure it. But that's the first place we go, okay? Because we're programmed to perpetuate the cycle, and that's what the cycle's about, this codependency. And so, no. And so you don't need to be doubtful, but you're dancing with that self-doubt. So I'm saying, I'm turning the music off when I say to you that that's not the go-to control cure and you being the cause. So shift your concern away from that. The triggers have more to do with you being able to acknowledge that that conditioning is still very much alive in you, and just to expect that it will come up. It will continue to come up like the layers of an onion until you get to the center. This is soul work. That's why we use the sidereal. We're not doing this to be, ambidextrous or cute or, schizophrenic. We're doing this so that we can actually go into the spiritual snapshot of your soul as it incarnated to try to align the energies the best way we can. And the best way we can do that at this time, based on the ancient sciences, is to look at the Aquarian nature. And the Aquarian nature is wanting to heal the whole. That's what the soul has this pull, speaking of the super new moon, toward. But because this is soul work, dealing with the soul contract with these souls in your family line, these souls have insisted that you evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. And so, although you have had many lifetimes where you have focused on other people, it's time for you to tap into the emotional lifetime on the earth at this time with the emotion of Pisces, which is saying that I need to release what I think I know is best and accept what I am getting in spades in terms of downloads from Great Mother about how to heal my codependency in domestic relationships. I need to just go with that. Let me just go with that. Okay. That's what this is saying. That's what the self-doubt card is saying to you. Just go with that. Just go with that. The hidden influences have to do with accepting your feelings. So maybe since the Sagittarius full moon on the 29th of May, there have been feelings coming up that you haven't quite known how to integrate, because in your soul experience, we're not just talking this lifetime, it's been diverted in other ways. And so in this lifetime, an hidden influence is really accepting how you feel. And so the fears around being rejected, just sit with them and allow those hidden influences to come through. This is influencing the direction that you're taking right now. And so you're tapped into it. Great Mother is just wanting to let you know what you are tapped into. And you do have everything that you need for this journey. She's confirming that, because as you accept your feelings, you're going to go deeper and deeper into that onion of unconditional love. As you accept, you feel the acceptance of the cosmos. As you accept, you feel the acceptance of Great Mother. As you accept, you feel the acceptance of those around you. That's how it works. And so that's the hidden influence that's really guiding your healing process and allowing you to embrace this expectation of self-empowerment. Now, what is generally expected is that regardless of how things appear at this time, there will be justice in the end. You do expect things to work out. You don't have a kind of negative view on the outcome, a fatalistic view, so to speak. You really are expecting things to, again, despite how difficult or how challenging this may be for you to align with your soul that is kind of still wanting to take care of everybody. And that's a wonderful thing. And you have this Piscean energy that is capable of seeing underneath the surface ways to do that, that you are releasing enough to allow your own self-healing and for all of that to fall into place the way that Great Mother, Father God is working with all of us for it to fall into place. We all have our unique cosmic calculus. The people in your domestic situation, your mom, they have their own moon sign. The great mother's dealing with them in. And if you listen to their reading, it'll be speaking to them, you know. And so we all have our individual work. You don't have to make sure everybody is doing okay right now. That feels like it's your job, but it's not. Not in the way that you think it is, but in the way that you can demonstrate to us how to have faith, how to work with faith, how to work with personal power, how to work with self-doubt, and allow the guidance to come in a moment and act on it. That's your gift. And that's the gift that you need to demonstrate, as opposed to the wanting to control, wanting to cure, and find out how you have been the cause of all of this, because that's just codependency repeating itself. Great Mother is saying, let go of any and everything that's preventing your rebirth and resurrection in this process. Anything that is preventing you from embracing this freedom isn't worth it. Great Mother's advice is to trust the guidance that is coming to you, but also trust the protection. So some of you may not be feeling completely protected. You may feel vulnerable as a result of all of this. Yeah, I'm accepting my feelings and I feel really vulnerable. So again, you've already come through a cycle of looking at your fear. And so as the layers are unraveled, you will go deeper and deeper and deeper into the concepts, the signs, and the symbols that are speaking to your soul evolution. And so, particularly now, if you're feeling vulnerable, Great Mother's coming through and she's saying, know that you have the guidance, protection, and the guardianship that you need at this time from a soul level. Legions of angels, guides, and ancestors are supporting you in this process, now that you have asserted the courage to address it. It's as simple as that. That's the single yin card that's about receptivity, and that's all that we need when that card appears, is to be receptive to the support. What this means, however, is receptive to the support in whatever form and whatever means it comes. Now, I was raised to be proud of my African ancestry. Proud. I mean, my family sponsored the Kwanzaa celebration in the 70s, okay, in my community. So, before it was popular and people couldn't pronounce it and all that kind of stuff. So, when my support came in the form of a self-described redneck, for me to be on my yellow brick journey and talking in front of you right now, unexpected is to say the least of what I was. So, have to be receptive. You just have to be receptive. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about that. In your immediate future, just like Dorothy, remember Dorothy and all these crazy people that came up on the yellow brick road? These cards are based on, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. She's the poster child for Mama Drama Trauma. Okay? So check out the signs and symbols of that movie. You're going to take responsibility for your yellow brick road, Aquarius, Pisces, Moon sign people. You're going to actually feel the encouragement of others in following your yellow brick road as you, again, encourage yourself. That's the yin-yang of it. You're going to feel that, and you're going to feel the gratitude for the work that you've done to get you here. In other words, as soon as you consciously activate this faith more and more, you're going to immediately start feeling the results of it more and more, because You're letting go of the lack of faith, the need to control, the need to find cause, the need to cure MDT, and you're just going with the guidance. And it's going to feel really, really good. You're going to really be able to respond to triggering situations in new and more empowered ways as well. Okay. This is embodying the law of divine father, the double yang symbol, acting on the guidance. So by embodying the faith that Great Mother is speaking to you and through you about, you will see the justice. You will see how all of this is coming together within this lunar cycle for you. It may, for some of you, still be really, really vague, and for yet others, this will be a completely new perspective on MDT. You may just be getting introduced to it. And so the cycle for you may be an actual annual one. But for all Aquarius, Pisces, Moon people, Great Mother is addressing that at this particular time, on a soul level, those unspoken truths, those unspoken feelings and emotions beneath the surface are now coming to the conscious spoken part of yourself. And she wants you to be aware of what those feelings are so that you properly articulate them and not simply out of being triggered and not knowing what you're saying and why you're saying and doing what you're doing. You'll still be triggered. You're working through the process, but you will have the guidance that you need in order to act in ways that are in accordance with the law, the word, and the logos. Possible outcome is that you will actually center yourself. You'll actually feel grounded for the first time in a long time. It will take you a lot for some of you to get there. Again, if this is very new for you, if you've been consciously working with Great Mother Speaks and the coaching and the readings, you are there. You are, by the end of this lunar cycle, or even after the full moon, during the waning gibbous, you will finally start feeling a groundedness that you haven't felt maybe in your entire life, or since your mother died, or since you've been dealing with the conscious awareness that your mother is an addict, etc., etc., etc. You'll finally start feeling in your body and in your heart and your mind a groundedness in the world. In other words, feeling yourself in your body. In the long term, Great Mother is saying, you're going to therefore be releasing the feelings of victimhood that you have had for so long. Some of you who are just entering the process will begin to feel victimhood. You'll begin to feel that the triggers that are coming up are overwhelming and going through the emotions in a way that make you feel that the MDT is all about you, for example, or it's all your fault. Again, you caused it. You're responsible for curing it. You need to control it, control others' behaviors. You'll just start that process. And all of us go through the exact same steps. That's what this deck is based on. None of us invented this. You know, I've been working with my MDT for 17 years, and the cycle is still unfolding. When we're talking about soul work, a lifetime is nothing. Okay? But it could also be in an instant. It just depends on your cosmic calculus, and we all have our own, don't we? The final outcome is acknowledged. By the end of this journey, be it annual or in this lunar cycle, you will acknowledge the universality of your experience with your family, that your spouse or your mate has experienced it, your coworker is experiencing some kind of MDT, which is causing them to behave the way they're behaving, that your mother, in fact, has. And how do you know that? It is a seed belief or thought beneath the surface that has a commonality. You're not good enough, get second best. You shouldn't pursue that because you'll never succeed. And that common thread, whatever that thought or whatever that belief is, once you get to it and you identify it, you'll see it reverberating throughout your life. That foundational mother-child relationship is what establishes all relationships throughout our lives. And when it's established in an environment of MDT, there is a point at which we must acknowledge it in order to grow beyond it. That's what you're doing, Aquarius, Pisces, Moon people, this lunar cycle. Now, some suggested Gemini new moon wishes for you as a result of what Great Mother's come through and said to you have to do with asking Great Mother for more insight or how to be more logical, insightful, maybe clever with how you communicate your wants and your needs. Okay, many of you are very sensitive to how other people feel and their reactions. And so your new moon wishes with Gemini energy would have to do with that, would have to do with asking her for positive daily interactions, more positive daily interactions with specific individuals and situations, perhaps. Calming mental activity around specific situations and people. Be specific in your wishes. And those kinds of wishes about communication, and even those of you that are new to this process, all of us would do well to ask during this moon about learning things that we want to learn more about and that we want to understand more clearly, to get those specifics from Great Mother during this very powerful Gemini super new moon. Now, I want to remind you that these general readings are based on the first house, and so that's what makes this Gemini new moon fourth house for this collective unconscious reading. But for you, your actual moon sign will be maybe in your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th house, which will, for some of you, modify the reading just a little bit and others quite a bit. So that's what the personal readings are for. But for now, stay tuned for the nodal axis video. It is going to give you insights about your north and south node and how that lunar information is incorporated in your moon sign reading. But remember, above all and most of all, Great Mother loves you, and I do too.
Okay, a word on the nodes is that they are typically viewed as too ethereal to be grounded in the world, too much of a conceptual aspect of the astrological chart to be really practical and practically interpreted as meaningful in your life now, which is why they are associated with the soul and kind of, okay, we can't really understand that. It's bigger than we are. We're not going to go there. And although that is true, the part that we can go to when we're looking at lunar aspects is that in the North Node or Rahu, we know that that is the evolutionary direction the soul is headed. We know that it is in large part the soul intention for its incarnation this particular lifetime. And knowing that, the sign it's in, the house it's in, and what aspects that house and those planets tell us the nature of the incarnation, what's important to it. Now, bringing that from the ethereal and the conceptual into a grounded interpretation requires us to understand the sentient nature of our physical senses: hearing, seeing, smelling, touching, waking, sleeping state, the state of health, the state of unhealth, etc. Those subtleties of life is what brings the nodal into the practical sphere. For example, all aspects of our nodes always oppose one another. And we know that if your Rahu is in your fourth house, your north node, then the 10th house is where Ketu, or your south node, is. Conceptually, we know that that soul is here to ground itself in the physical realm, specifically domestically, in its home, through property that it owns, to ground itself physically in the world. Now, regardless of the other aspects in the chart, because we're talking about the nodal axes, it's going to have a holographic effect on the entire chart as it relates to its incarnational purpose. Everything is ultimately pointing towards that in their own way, based on other aspects of the chart. But if you could just imagine the yang symbol, the circle with that arrow to the right, finding its ultimate purpose in this earth realm, steering towards it, pointed towards it, and finally incarnating as the physical form of the cosmic calculus that makes up our entire chart, which is our internal wiring kind of laid out, splashed upon the stars and constellations that we can read and interpret. We will see that the north node and the nodal axes in general give us a look into how to ease the internal stresses of that life incarnated purpose. So regardless of what it is, there will always be stresses associated with it, issues of insecurity, self-esteem, and how we are experiencing that incarnational purpose on an individual basis. So with our example with the North Node in the fourth house dealing with domesticity and the mother, there will be challenges associated with the home and the mother. There will be stresses associated with that, because that is the stuff that evolution is made of, that conflict, that yin and that yang purification process that occurs. So just looking at that, we can see that there will be opportunities throughout life to grow and evolve, which can be seen in the chart. To further ground that, we want to look at what your chart is telling you about your health, what your chart is telling you about your career, about your relationships, how you see the world, finances, and spirituality, because it's going to inform the strengths and the challenges associated with that. As we do that, returning back to the subtleties of our waking, dreaming state, our clairs, clairvoyance, our clear seeing, our clear feeling and touching, clairsentience, clear audience, those extra sensory abilities. What happens is our unique strengths in those areas are constantly offering us information, tools, and guidance about how to confront, remedy, and transform those challenges and those stresses. So let's say, for example, with the North Node in the fourth house, one of the aspects is to have a sixth house everyday life situation where the sun is there. Or I'm not going to get too deeply into the example because there's so many variations, but let's just say that in your everyday life, you're very focused toward what you want to do. You're very clear about what you want to do, but maybe in your career, there's some conflict for one reason or another. That's going to create a challenge, perhaps, in creating the necessary revenue to get the home that you want to feel grounded. That is going to work for you to feel that domestic grounding. And so with the South Node or Leo and K2, there's going to be a tremendous tendency to want to fall back on that default, which is what the South Node is, the soul default, the many lifetimes that the soul has had in that particular energy, which is all about accomplishment, success, in career, and that sort of thing. Wanting to fall back into that, even in light of this lifetime, that being a challenge, there being some corners cut, perhaps, or some illegalities, perhaps, as it relates to acquiring the home that you want, or dealing with maternal issues and that sort of thing. So that's how we can ground it a little bit further and look for opportunities with our dreams, with how we are managing our sleeping life, our circadian rhythms. Are they really supporting us in a way that we feel energized enough to fulfill what we need to fulfill, to acquire what we need to acquire to feel grounded? If we need to be a bit more creative than what the present lifestyle is in acquiring a home, do we need to perhaps be a little bit more intuitive with regard to what may be other opportunities to acquire those things? Maybe there are people that are wanting people to do some house sitting around your area, but you really haven't tuned into that. But there may be some intuitive guidance in that area where you could easily do that. The soul is always downloading intuitive information to us, and it is through our sentient voices, feelings, and unctions that we can connect to exactly what it is that we need to fulfill those things. And so that is what we look at in a moon reading as it relates to the nodes. We look at where those strengths could possibly be for you. Some people have more of an ability to hear. They may have clearer audience based on the fifth chakra prevalence of Mercury energy throughout their chart. That kind of thing is what we're looking at in a moon sign reading. That's the perspective that we are able to gain a clearer view into how to use your sensitivities, how to identify them and work with them to fulfill your practical needs that the soul has in this lifetime, for you to feel the balance and the equilibrium that you need within yourself as you deal with this very challenging issue of mama drama trauma.
For more information about Mama Drama Trauma, visit mamadramatrauma.info.